Okay. So it's 12:05 and we can start. We're just trying to send invites to more people. Let me see. No. Okay. So good day everyone and welcome to today's live. This is going to be super interactive because this is our first time doing this kind of important conversation on TikTok. So the last time we did we did a schizophrenia awareness walk and a lot of people joined. Thank you to everyone that joined. It was a beautiful walk. So thank you for joining today's live session. And we want to talk about healing beyond survival. That is, we're not just enduring, we are actually enjoying our lives. We want to talk about PTSD. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about PTSD, but maybe we don't know the full, maybe not the full meaning, but what it actually means and all that. So thank you for taking your time to join us today and improving the way the community reacts to mental health and emotional well-being. So if you've joined already, can you let me know where you're joining from today? You can just put it in the chat. I'll check the chat as often as possible. So please drop where you're joining us today in the chat, in the comments. And also if you can describe how you're feeling right now, maybe one word. I am feeling excited because I've been looking forward to this TikTok live for quite some time. And so thank you, Derek, for joining, Gabriel, Max. I won't be able to call everybody's name, but thank you so much for joining us today. If you had a color for how you feel, what is it gonna be? I can't really see the chat, but I see when people, maybe nobody's sending me any message yet. Please send me a message, let me know how you feel. You know my color already. Mine is purple. Because purple stands for anything mental health. Purple is also a color to show that. So if you can drop what color stands for how you feel right now, please put it in the comments as well. We're going to get right into it, and I just want to tell you a little bit of what to expect in today's conversation. So today we'll be talking about what PTSD is, who PTSD can affect. We'll give examples of traumatic events that can lead to PTSD. We'll also cover common symptoms of PTSD and also try to talk about the different myths around PTSD and the facts. We're going to be replacing the myths with the facts. And another thing we'll talk about is what PTSD looks like in the Black community, because the Philip Support Foundation is an organization that is focusing on the mental health of Black people here in Canada and by extension all over the world. So let me do a little bit of introduction to that. So this whole event, or this TikTok live, was brought together by the Philip Support Foundation, but we couldn't use that page, the TikTok page, which is at support_PSF, because we don't have enough followers. So if you're here today, kindly follow our page, our PSF page, so that we can have more followers and we'll be able to do a live session with our account. So the account once again is at support, SUPPORT_PSF. So please try to follow us, like our video. I'm sure you'll be able to connect with one thing or another. Another thing we'll be looking at today will be what recovery or treatment looks like. If you're joining us, kindly mute your mic. Thank you. So we'll be looking at what recovery or treatment looks like. And also we'll be talking about how to support someone that is living with PTSD, because one of the mandates of the PSF is to make our community more empathetic. Okay, after saying all that, we'll have to do the land acknowledgements, which is something that we do um in Canada. We have to acknowledge the land on which we are having this event. Even though it's online, we still have to acknowledge. Yes, so we respectfully acknowledge that the PSF, the Philip Support Foundation, operates on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional lands of many indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Dane, and Saulteaux, and Inuit peoples. We honor the histories, the cultures, and resilience of indigenous communities, and we recognize the importance of collective healing, community care, and well-being. Thank you. So just a little bit of housekeeping. Number one, please note that this session is being recorded. So if you're joining, it means that you've given us consent to go ahead and for you to be a part of a recorded session. Also, if you have questions, I know there will be lots of questions. You can drop it in the chat and I'll look at it as the conversation will be going on. And we will have a dedicated session for Q&A at the end of the presentation. At the end of the discussion today, we'll focus on questions and we'll address all your questions, hopefully. And most importantly, please note that today's discussion may touch on experiences, and that may lead to stress or emotional discomfort. So please take care of yourself during this session. And before we start, we'll just do a little bit of breathing exercise. If you don't mind, you can join me. Are you ready? Okay, so I hope you're in a comfortable position right now. So try to be in a comfortable position. Maybe if you are sitting, maybe adjust your seat or something. Then let's breathe in. Let's hold it for 2 seconds. Breathe out. You don't have to close your eyes. I'm just used to closing my eyes. So let's do that again. Now I'm going to open my eyes. So breathe in. Let's hold it for a while. Breathe out. One last time. Let's breathe in. Hold it. And breathe out. I hope you joined me to do that because I enjoyed it. If you joined, I hope you enjoyed it as well. So welcome to this moment. Now it is my honor to introduce the speaker for today. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the video work, so you will not be seeing the face of our speaker, but you're going to be hearing a beautiful voice. So let me do a little bit of introduction. Our guest speaker today is Timi Oyebode, and she's the founder and head counselor at Attitude Development International. It is an organization that is focused on promoting professional counseling and counseling education in Africa. She is the executive director of ADI MindCare International in Canada, which is a non-profit that is focused on marriage, family, mental health, emotional wellness, self-discovery, trauma, abuse, addiction, and sex recovery therapy. She is indeed a seasoned, passionate, and certified professional counselor, and also a psychotherapist and mediator. And she has over 20 years experience working with individuals, couples, families, and so on. So when it is about trauma, abuse, addiction, self-discovery, sexuality, marital challenges, Dr. Timi is the counselor you want to meet. Please make welcome Dr. Timi.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here and to have this opportunity to share with us all, about wellness emotional wellness, mental wellness, and everything about stress, trauma, and horror. And I want to say a very big thank you, first of all, to my darling sister, Esther, and the entire family that had put this together. Such conversations like this is needful because it keeps help available, especially for the Black community and for everybody. So I want to say a big thank you to you, Hester. Well done. There are some work we do that Holy Providence can reward you. And I pray you would not miss your reward. So do you want me to go on to the topic for today?
Yes, please take us. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So today we're talking about PTSD in particular. I know there are a lot of time people assume that, oh, there are some myth, there are some assumption about what we mean by PTSD. Okay, but I would just want to make it as simple for every one of us to understand that PTSD isn't something that far away. Before, some years back, people talk about PTSD and then they would say, oh, it has to be something that is wrong with veterinaries. Maybe the war veterans, they came back from war, oh, they have PTSD. That seems like what we know it to be. But reality is, PTSD, it's very common. It's not for some people, it's not selective. And what do we really mean by PTSD? That's an acronym, right? Post, that's P. And T is traumatic. And S is stress. Okay, and D is disorder. So post-traumatic stress disorder. In other words, we're saying that when people that are triggered them negatively, okay, and their recovery span is now low or they couldn't adjust quickly, okay, and the effect of the stress, whatever had stressed them emotionally, the effect of it is still playing out. That's where we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. There is a stress that came after a trauma event. Okay, can you still hear me? Beautiful. So, in other words, what are we saying? A lot of time when we refer to post-traumatic, first of all, I need us to understand the word trauma. Trauma means emotional wounds. As humans, we are made up of body, spirit, and soul. Our body, our spirit, and our soul. All of these are intertwined. The fullness of all of this is what makes us one. Is what makes us human. If we are physically healthy and not emotionally healthy, then there's going to be a problem. If you're emotionally healthy and not physically healthy, then there's going to be a problem. If you're emotionally healthy and you're not spiritually healthy, there's going to be a problem. So you see, the way man is made, all three parts of us need to be fully formed, well fed, and put in a space where they could thrive, the three parts of us. So when we now suffer any form of emotional injury, such as, sometimes when we try to explain what these traumatic experiences could be, I would tell people it could be as basic as even betrayal, disappointment, anything that caused you some level of pain, anything that caused you a high level of anguish, and trauma has a spectrum. That means, remember trauma, emotional wounds. So when we say emotional wounds, we're saying the wound could be very minor. The wound could be mild. The wound could be major, could be severe, right? So it's in different degrees. Sometimes why we do not see or why we cannot take record of what's going on with people is because of we do not know where they have the spectrum. So it's always important not to trivialize any form of pain. Pain is pain. The mind doesn't even know the difference, whether it's a physical pain or emotional pain. Like I would always ask people, have you cried in the last 1 month? If you have, were you beaten? Did you have an accident? Is that why you cried? And you realize that you cried not because somebody hit you, but because you are an emotional being. Something hits you emotionally that made you to shed tears. And shedding tears is one of our emotional expressions, naturally created to help us recoup, refreshing, and be back again. So now, when trauma occurs, whatever form of it, and I'm particularly emphasizing whatever form, because we've had a lot of time people trivialize some things. Oh, why is she crying over a phone, a missing phone? A missing phone is too minor for you to cry over. If that missing phone is of high importance to that person, it's big enough to cause them a trauma. So taking it away from, oh, it has to be a big event. It has to be, oh, someone was raped. Someone could be raped and they are not traumatized. And another person could be raped and they will be traumatized. And these are key things that we need to understand so that you could help yourself and not just allow people to tell you, oh, because something has happened to you, that means you're traumatized. No. Trauma is formed when depending on the response or the experience, the meaning given to an event that happened. So when an event happens, what is the meaning that was given to it? What happened after? What was the experience of the individual after? That is what then goes on to determine whether this person will become traumatized. That being established, when trauma is then established, do all trauma lead us to stress? Of course. Once there is trauma, the person is stressed. But then we look at the margin. The margin usually is 4 weeks. Within 4 weeks, if the person has not been able to manage whatever the level of pain or the stressors or the reactions of the trauma they went through, if after 4 weeks, the effect of that trauma is still playing out. So for example, maybe someone who had an armed robbery incident, and then they become, every time maybe a stranger or somebody is knocking at their door, they start panicking or they have a panic attack, If that continues 4 weeks after the event, then we begin to talk about PTSD. Are you with me? Are you getting it? So it tells us that, okay, yeah, this event that has happened to this person has a major impact that is still affecting the person's wellness, even as at that point. So once we understand that, okay, and this is why it's always big for us to tell people not to self-diagnose. Okay, don't just say, oh, I think I'm traumatized. Because trauma, it's not a slang. It's a mental illness. Okay, so it's not just not something that you just want to use to describe yourself randomly. If you're not really, really in it, it's a state of the mind that shows that the mind has been injured. And so what we're saying is, if the effect of this injury is still playing out in someone's life 4 weeks after, then we know this person has PTSD. That being said, okay.
Hey Timi, we can't hear you anymore.
Oh, can you still hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, good. So I was saying that some of the myth that now comes in with PTSD is the belief that, oh, anyone who then has PTSD means that person is weak or that person is not strong enough. That's why whatever happened to them over 2 years ago, 1 month ago, 3 months ago, is still having effect on their lives. There are high chances that people would go through some of this. It necessarily doesn't mean that they are weak. In fact, I tell people, acknowledging and identifying that you are struggling with an area of your mind is a sign of strength. It's a big sign of strength. In fact, if you can go further to now let somebody else know, like to be able to say to someone, you know what, I think I've been having sleepless night. My head hits all the time. That's a lot. You are a strong person. So if anyone says you were a weakling because of that, that's
Mm. Oh, can't hear you.
okay. Yes, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, because it looked like it was paused, so I was wondering if I'm still on or not.
You are.
Okay, okay, good. So basically, the emphasis for that angle is individuals who realizes that, or they had an experience, or they have something happen to them that really hurts them deeply. That's one. Remember emotional wounds, trauma, emotional wounds. Now, whatever hurts you deeply, don't trivialize it, even if it's ordinary betrayal, even if it's disappointment, whatever it is, okay? Check it out. What was the effect that begin to have on you? If after 4 weeks, you're still feeling the impact of that pain, okay? There is maybe the impact is inclusive of, oh, you are not sleeping well, or you continue to have headaches, or you find out that you're struggling to connect with other people, or you are isolating yourself, you realize that you are no longer willing to network or have social audience, you just want to stay in your room, you're just by yourself, once you notice that this um pattern is lasting longer, then it's about time that you seek for help. And I established why people think that, oh, if you talk about PTSD, it means that mental healing. In fact, some people think it means you are now mentally healed. No, no, no. Like I said, post-traumatic stress disorder. There are different kinds of stress disorder that I may not be able to go to by virtue of the session we're having this evening. Okay, but understanding that PTSD is just one of this. And like I said earlier, do not diagnose yourself. Do not do what we call self-diagnosis. Make sure if you are suspecting that your stress level is not going away, it's not reducing, it's getting higher. You became paranoia, you become afraid of other people. Whatever you discovered, then you know that you want to begin to seek help. Now, in particularly the Black community, many times PTSD has been misunderstood. In fact, it has been, when I sometimes I hear people say, oh, that man is always angry. In fact, many Black men have been tagged as angry men. It's so common to hear slangs like, oh, why do they always act angry? Why do they talk aggressively? Why are Black people always loud? All of these things. They are actually because many Africans of African origins have not been exposed or opportune to have access to therapy, which is one of the reasons why we are now emphasizing that therapy is needful. Our culture is very engaging, right? It's very communal. So because of that, we assume that because we have that community support, we assume people have the help that they need part time. Oh, but you're not lonely now. You should have had someone to talk to, right? It's all assumptions. There are people with large family system but do not have any connection with their family. There are people who are Africans who somehow, unfortunately, have become isolated, especially if you find yourself in the Western world today, Canada, America, name it, UK. Many of those communities are very isolating. Okay, and so we are encouraging our people to take the bull by the horn and go in for therapy, even for mental health assessment, because you might think you are fine. You may not know that your response or the reaction, maybe you just know that sometimes you just have this sudden jerk, or if someone touches you at the back, you realize that you suddenly just, you have that reaction that like you snap, okay? Or you realize that, you want to go to bed at night, and for 4 or 5 times you're still checking your door to see if it's well locked or not. Some of these things are actually PTSD. They're actually symptoms. Okay, you think it's anxiety. Yeah. Oh, I think I have high level of anxiety. Some of these things are symptoms that goes further, and that's why we tell you, don't self-diagnose. Go into a professional, even if it's once in a year. If you can take the pain to see a medical doctor, some people actually have medical support. What's it called? Medical assessment plan for them every year. Once every year, they go in for a full body check, right? Why can't you just book yourself in for a mental health assessment? Yes, let it be. Remember when we started this conversation, I said body, spirit, and soul. You cannot take care of your body and ignite your mind. Your mind is your soul. The soul is the heart, is the mind. You cannot neglect it and say, okay, I'll be fine. No, you will not be fine if you don't feed it with the right food. The same way you're feeding your body, the same way you're taking good balanced diet, you're going for exercises. Spiritually, you are going to church, you're going to a mosque, you're praying, you are building your your spirit being. So if your spirit is fed, your body is fed, what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding? Or you just leave your mind to it will be well, it will be fine. No, it will not be fine. Okay, so please, I really want to encourage us at this meeting that you should take that deliberateness to book yourself in periodically for a mental health assessment. Let someone look at you and tell you how you're doing mentally, even if it's once a year. If you can afford it, people would say, oh, therapy is expensive, oh, assessment is expensive. My goodness, you think it's expensive? Huh. But you go to the medical doctors, you pay your dues. Some of you use your insurance will take care of it. It's actually the cultural mindset where we're coming from that makes a lot of people, black people, think, no, therapy is expensive. No, because you think talk is cheap. Because you think you have a friend, you have somebody that you could talk to, or you have family members. That's how we were groomed. We grew up believing you always have someone to talk to. But really, that's someone you want to talk to. Is that person trained to manage your mind, to help you to control your thought patterns, to teach you how to deal with PTSD? Because you actually can deal with them. None of this is something that is permanent, that cannot be worked on. Everything can be worked on. Okay? And that is to say, again, healing, recovery is very possible. I want every one of us to be aware that the same way we can get injured, the same way we can get healed. Let's desire it. Is healing, is recovery, is it automatic? No. Oh, is it the same way it works for Esther? Is that the way I'm going to heal? Probably not. Because we're all different people. And we also heal at different paces. But healing is very possible. Recovery, very possible, if we can commit ourselves to it. And that's my recommendation. That in everything, just know that the same way we talked about trauma being on a spectrum, healing is also on a spectrum. Start little, gradually, you get it somewhere. But the first most important thing is to acknowledge that you are wounded. Acknowledge that something is wrong. Don't keep it to yourself. It's nothing to be ashamed of. If you can go to the hospital physically for physical health issues, if you can go to your spiritual leaders for spiritual support, your mental health is also just regular life. Take it that way. Be bold to talk about it. Find the help that you need. Find the community. And thank God for people like Esther and the community they are building, trying to create avenues for people to know that these conversations are normal. There's no big deal, okay, about this thing. So find those kind of communities, be a part of it. Come for conversations like this, discussions like this, conferences like this, join in, listening, and feed yourself,
Yeah.
feed your mind. There is what we call emotional bank, where you get things to feed your mind with. Tap into that, okay? And take your healing because you actually deserve to heal.
Mm.
I hope we get something, no matter how little it is.
Yes, we definitely gained a lot.
That's
Okay.
good to know.
If you're joining as a guest, can you please mute your mic? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Timi. We definitely gained a lot. I've written a whole lot down, and so maybe just a little bit of recap of what I've gained. Can you hear me? I hope my mic is now on mute.
Yes, I can hear
Okay,
you.
okay. Yeah, you mentioned that trauma means emotional wound, and there are some of these emotional wounds that we carry and we don't even realize. For example, there was a time years back, I think like 7 years, I was robbed. I was carrying my backpack with one hand, right? And then I was back in Abuja, and then I was robbed. So one day, randomly in Canada, I had a backpack and I tried to carry it with one hand. But that mind was like, no, carry it with two hands just because of what had happened before. Then I realized that after that time, I had never actually carried my backpack with one hand. It has always been the two. So, not knowing that there was a trauma that I was carrying around and I didn't actually realize, right? So, that is just to say that there are times that we carry some of this trauma or these traumatic experiences are already in us and we don't even know, right? We don't even realize until we talk to someone or until the realization actually dawns on us. Another thing you mentioned is that we should not trivialize any form of pain. Whatever hurts you deeply, don't trivialize it. So if there's something, there are times that maybe we had a disagreement with a friend or maybe anything. Like I was watching Instagram the other day and someone was talking about the fact that heartbreak can actually send you to the hospital. That is, you planned that you were going to, maybe somebody is your boyfriend or husband or whatever, and then you're heartbroken, something happened and then you're heartbroken. That can actually lead you to the hospital. So that is not even just the mind anymore, it's now the body. That is, your body cannot withstand the emotional stress that you've been put through. That's just to say that everybody's going through one thing or another. Trauma can come in different forms, in different shapes, in different ways. We just need to take note of them and, seek help whenever we need to. You also mentioned that trauma is a mental illness. I hear a lot of people or self-acclaiming or maybe adapting or saying that they have a mental illness, whereas they don't. For example, somebody is neat, say, no, it's my OCD. Why do we keep accepting? I don't know, maybe Dr. Timmy, if you've heard this before, when people are like claiming what they are not, right? Saying, I no, don't worry, it's my
Yeah.
OCD.
Yes.
These are some of the things that we're trying to break, to say that most of these things that we're referring to, they are actual mental illnesses that we shouldn't even joke about them, right? So then you said something very important, that the same way you can get injured, we can get healed. That is to say that healing is possible. Healing of the mind is possible. As healing of the body is possible, so is healing of the mind possible. Then lastly, yearly mental health check. I'd never heard of this. So I do a yearly routine check, see your doctor and, do blood tests and stuff. But I'd never heard of yearly mental health check, and I think it's very important because most of the time, yes, we pray, we have a spiritual life, we feed on the word of God and that. Then also we do blood check, we eat well and stuff, but there's no time that we actually check our minds and ask, am I really okay? And I think it's very important. So thank you so much, Dr. Timi, for all this and many more. I'm sure that a lot of people that have joined before, they were able to pick even lots more from our conversation so far. I've not seen any questions, maybe because we all understand everything that is being said. But if you have any question, please feel free to drop it in the chat, or if you want to talk, if we can unmute you and then you ask your question. So while you're getting that ready, I have a few questions here myself. My first question will be, can children get PTSD?
Oh yes, PTSD is not age is not age bound. Okay, it has nothing to do with whether you're an adult or you're, if anyone can be traumatized. And remember, PTSD is post traumatic stress disorder. So yes, children can have PTSD. Sometimes, in fact, one of the easiest example I can give is usually grief. Maybe the loss of a parent. Oftentimes we think children do not grieve, or we think children, no, they don't know what happened. They are still small. They don't. It will shock you to realize it, especially if you talk to people as adults and they tell you the impact the death of their parent had on them. And then you realize, so they had feelings, they had thought, they knew what was going on at that time, even if all the adults were trying to shield them from it. So, and the effects of such losses can still be in someone's life till their adulthood, right? If it's not dealt with. So,
Okay.
yes, children do have PTSD.
Okay. So maybe further question to that. If a child can actually have PTSD, and maybe they don't even, maybe it was not a major incident, maybe like the loss, like you mentioned. There are times that abuse, when a child was excessively abused as a child, it's also trauma, right? And then they have to deal with that. Is there does PTSD go on its own? Like, can it miraculously just go? Like, it happened when they were younger, and as they were growing up, maybe there was a better environment and they don't even remember, what happened, maybe the abuse or whatever. But can PTSD go on its own, or it actually needs medical attention?
Okay, so there are conditions that makes things heal, and one of it is processing. Okay. Now, so many people unknowingly, in fact, some people do not know they were wounded. And so they didn't even realize when they got healed as well. So it's very possible for people to be wounded and get healed without without seeking external help. Okay. Which means that in some cases we have people progressively, maybe because they're a bit more resilient, and that's why resilience is one of the key thing, or one of the key foundations that we usually establish, that if people have resilience, they're able to they're able to weather through so many things. Okay, so PTSD doesn't disappear on its own. In fact, a lot of time, some people would say, "Oh yeah, I was traumatized as a child, but time has healed it." Time doesn't heal wounds. Those are assumptions people think. What time does is that time gives you enough time to master the wound,
Mm,
and master how to pretend with the wound, and master how
mm,
to cover it up. It doesn't heal it.
mm,
Okay,
mm,
so
mm,
that's just to answer it in that context.
mm, mm. Okay, so trauma, PTSD doesn't disappear. It will give you time. I like that part. It will give you time to adjust, and most of the time we are just adjusting um to the trauma that we've been through. And let's even take this to Nigerian setting. Please, if you have any question, kindly drop it and we'll answer your question. But we're waiting for people to ask, because me, I have a lot of questions. Let's talk about the Nigerian community and the fact that so there's this thing about spanking a child, and abroad, is different and stuff. And a lot of people relate that, being spanked as a child, they relate that as a traumatic experience, right? Would you actually consider that a traumatic experience, or it's just exaggerated?
Okay, you remember when I was trying to define what trauma was, and I explained that it's the meaning each individual gives to what happened to them.
Sure.
Okay? So the event itself, the action, the activity, action, whatever it is that happened, is not what defines trauma. That's why two people cannot say, oh, because we went through immigration problem. Because we're trying to travel out and the jackpot didn't work well. It means I'm traumatized or you're traumatized. No. It is how do I interpret what happened to me. So if I was flogged, somebody could have been flogged and beaten as a child, and that person would say, oh my goodness, that was what helped me. That was what formed me. That's what makes me who I am today. If my parent didn't beat me, I'm sure I would have been this. And another person will say, that my beating makes me to hate my parents. In fact, it makes me to hate people. In fact, I was traumatized. The same event, but different interpretation. That's why in the same family, you have two children, and then one of them will grow up and say, hey, dad was wicked. And the other will say, dad is the most loving man I know.
Sure.
The same man, the same father, right? But different interpretations of that person's attitude or reactions to them. So trauma is usually defined by the person's interpretation of it. That is why it will shock you. I've had a client who was raped, and she came into therapy because she, sadly, people expected her to be sad that she was raped, but she was confused because she enjoyed it. She saw herself craving for it. So she didn't understand. She was wondering something must be wrong with me if people expect me to be sad, and instead I'm craving that this guy would come back again. So this is why I tell people you cannot define what trauma is to somebody. You can't say, because I've had a client, an elderly woman who lost her husband, elderly man, elderly woman, and the woman was in therapy because she felt that it was awkward that she was not sad at the passing of the husband. People expect that, she should be traumatized. The husband is dead, a long-time partner. But for her, it was a relief. According to her, the man was very abusive. She has only endured the marriage for the number of years. Now he's gone. She's like, oh, thank God. But she's feeling bad. She's wondering that, hey, she needs to pretend and, because people has a perception of what pain should look like. That is why when someone has a minor pain, people think, oh, that's a minor one. Minor, like, for example, so a wedding supposed to happen, the wedding didn't happen. And then people say, oh, that's a good one, good for you, just move on, you find somebody else. Who tells you it's easy to find somebody else? Who tells you it's easy to move on? That you could do it does not mean the other person can. So interpretation for individual, that's why trauma is very individualistic. Very, very. We don't generalize it. If someone comes in now, we sit them down, we take their own history, we look at their life, we check what's been like, and that's how we find what's wrong with them. We find when did it happen? Because another thing we need to also know about trauma sometimes is not about what even happened. No, sometimes it could be what did you see? What did you hear? People have been traumatized by simply what they heard or what they saw, not that it even happened to them. Right? Look at this, the incident you gave of your own handbag being snatched. Somebody will witnessed it, maybe a passerby who saw the bag being snatched off you, can become traumatized.
Yes, true.
Do you get it?
Very
It
true,
wasn't
yeah.
their bag that was snatched, but the fact that they just saw it happen to somebody could trigger it for them. I had a client, I had a young man once who is so terrified of elevators or any closed space. Because his younger brother, when they were kids, his younger brother got locked into the bathroom. As a baby, he was about 2 or 3 years old, so his hand couldn't reach the doorknob. The door jams from inside. You can only open it from inside.
Oh my goodness.
So he was about maybe 5 or 6 years old. That's the bigger brother. He
Mm-hmm.
also couldn't rescue his brother, because it's the person inside that has to open the door. And the little brother was so little, he couldn't touch the doorknob. So for hours, while their parents were away, until help came, even when their parents came, they had to call firefighters. They said firefighters had to come in through the window of the
Wow.
house, and the house is up, maybe some story building hop. It's an apartment building, so they were hop up there. So the siren noise, the fact that his brother was locked up in that bathroom for hours, the fact that the brother that was locked up grew up normal. He doesn't have a fear of bathroom. He doesn't have a fear of elevator. He takes the lift. But
Wow.
the elder brother that witnessed it
Mm.
struggled to it. He was going to this building in Lagos, this very tall one, this 1001 or something, 1000 and something stairs.
Mm.
This guy refused to take the lift.
Wow.
He said he would rather take the stairs. He doesn't want to be in any enclosed space because of the trauma. So that's how trauma is. It's very individualistic. It's not general. Okay? And we can't determine what causes trauma for each person.
Mm.
We know the physical pain, and that is where beating comes in, because beating is a lot of physical pain.
Mm-hmm.
Could cause it. Okay? But we are not going to say categorically that beating equates trauma. No. Because there are people who will tell you they were beaten and they were not traumatized.
Mm. Mm. Very good.
Yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much. Do we have anybody that wants to ask a question? Maybe on mute. Trust me, I have a lot more questions, but I want to.
We have a few more minutes.
Yeah, we have very few minutes left. So if you have any question and you want to unmute, please do that and ask your question. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds to unmute and ask. If we don't hear anybody, then we'll just round off this session for today. Trust me, it has been very insightful. I've learned a lot, I've written a lot, and I'm sure we've also picked one or two things, about PTSD. So PTSD is not a war term. It's not for veterans. It's for anybody. It can be for anybody. You can, if you think after this live session, you can think within yourself, what is that thing that has hurt me? That I've been carrying for a long time, that I may not even know that it's a trauma that I'm dealing with. Self-reflection. Then if it has been on for a long time, maybe you want to talk to somebody about it. Maybe it is even affecting how you relate with people. Maybe it's affecting the way you talk to people. Maybe it's affecting you yourself and advancing in career, in life, or whatever the case may be. Okay, I didn't hear anybody on mute. So I have just one more question, or maybe two. So the first one will be, how do I differentiate between just stress? I say just stress because stress has levels, right? But how do I differentiate between stress and PTSD?
Okay. The first major one is timing. Remember I told us earlier, duration. If
Mm-hmm.
you are stressed, of course, if you're stressed and you are able to rest, a couple of days later you should feel better, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
if you realize that you're still feeling stress, you're carrying your stress consistently. That's what we look out for. Consistently for 4 weeks and above. That tells you that it's deeper than stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a major signal we use to check it out. One. Two, also, we look at the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because yes, stress has its dynamics. Oh, you're tired, you have a headache, you have panic attack, all of this. But if you realize that you also begin to have uncontrollable emotional heartburst, okay, and this keeps on beyond that duration. The major key thing we look out for on the immediate is that duration. How long has this been, and the consistency of it? Not that, oh, I was down today, then tomorrow I was fine again. Then I was down 2 days later, and I was down, you know, um, then I was fine again. No, that could just be mood swing. It could just be things happening in your life. Okay. But what we look out for is if you have been in that perpetual state consistently for a long period of time, that could be the major sign. And there are so many other things. I don't want to begin to mention some things because our people, naturally, we have tendencies to become, yeah. The doctor just said this. That means that's me. No. Seek to sit with a professional. Let them do a proper assessment for you. If you're suspecting that you have PTSD, if you've gone through any trauma that you still hot from, I think that's a signal for you to seek help. Let the professionals tell you you're fine or you're not fine. Don't do it yourself.
So no self-diagnosis.
No self-diagnosis.
Yes, we need a
No.
professional to
No.
say this is what you have.
Exactly. Sometimes I hear people say things like, oh, I have depression. Who told you? Depression is a mental illness. It's not a slang.
It's not.
It's not a slang, so please.
Thank you so much. That will be the last question.
Yeah,
I
there's a
have.
question here. Someone said, since PTSD can be clinically diagnosed, is healing based on medication or counseling? Okay, thank you for that question, Adisisu. That's a beautiful one. The dynamic about PTSD is to depend on what kind of symptoms the individual is exhibiting. That's what determines the healing process. Okay, so medication or counseling could be effective. Depends on what is it that the person is exhibiting. All right. Remember what we said earlier, the three: body, spirit, and soul. All three. So even medication, the body, counseling, the mind, spiritual. And these are key things. These are key areas. That's why we tell people you can't relegate one part. You can't say, no, I'm not a spiritual person. Don't, because we're all spiritual beings. Oh, you may not believe in a particular God or a particular this, but you do have a spiritual core in you, and you need to learn to tap into it. Because all three is what makes man complete. So when we go through the process of healing, it could be medication, it could be counseling, it could be this. When you are diagnosed properly, whatever is needful for your process of healing will be communicated to you, and then you take it on from that. So, but that being said, counseling is very effective. Medication is also very effective. I would always recommend that people sit with a counselor, sit with somebody who could even go through your medications with you and check it out. Is your medication, is it working? Is it not working? Okay, do we need more therapy? Do you know? Yes, that's what I would say to that.
Thank you so much. Just to be sure we don't have more questions. So we are going to be wrapping up this session for today, but thank you so much, Dr. Timi, for being practical with your examples and how to deal with PTSD. So we see another comment here that times when feeling stressed, sad, mood swing, and when nothing seems interesting at times. Yeah. Dr. Timi, do you want to speak to this briefly?
Yes. When we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling sad, when nothing seems interesting, please, that's the time you should book yourself in for therapy. Get to speak with a therapist. Let's normalize speaking to a therapist. Okay, you should have like some people have their personal doctor, they have family doctors, they have their pastor. You hear things like, oh, my pastor, oh, my mom, oh, my this. You should have your therapist. We should normalize it, please, so that when you feel overwhelmed, it's not a friend. Your therapist is not a friend. It's not your brother. It's not your sister. Okay, it's a professional that is trained to help you and put you back your mind, to help you align your mind and make sure you are healthy in your mind.
And I want to add to that there are some people that say that their pastors are their therapists, or the Holy Spirit is their therapist.
Okay, so that would tell you the same, then tell you your pastor could be a medical doctor. The Holy Spirit could heal your physical illnesses as well. So why do you still need to go to the hospital?
Mm.
Because the Holy Spirit inspired the medical doctors to work on your body. The Holy
Mm.
Spirit inspired the psychologists, psychotherapists, the mental health professionals.
Mm.
The Holy Spirit inspired your pastor.
Sure.
Do you see? So don't let us be distracted or relegate what is important and begin to make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
This is time for us to wake up. We deserve a wholeness. We deserve to be healed on all sides.
Mm.
Okay, so please, especially African men, like someone put it there,
Yes.
especially African men, they don't believe in
Mm.
therapy. I tell them,
Mm.
and also, I believe also that it's a level of fallacy. It's ignorance. A
Yes.
particular year, most of my client base were men. The same
Mm.
African men people say don't go for therapy. And I
Mm.
had many of them that particular year, maybe because I was so insistent on reaching out to men. And I saw that men are willing to come to therapy. If they know about it, it's because they do not know.
Mm.
It's because they do not know. It's because they think it's just, oh, it's talking. So it's when they now get to understand that, oh, it's more than just talking.
Yeah.
Okay? And then they're able to step in. And when men come in for therapy, believe me,
Mm.
the world shakes.
True. The world gets better.
The world gets better.
So
All
how do
right.
you, maybe I should ask for the, how do you convince a man that doesn't believe in therapy? Because there are truly some men, African men, that don't believe in therapy. So how do we convince the men in our communities
So
to
using the analysis that I gave earlier has been very helpful to many men because it's logical. Men are logical. They are not emotional. You know, they want to understand. So why am I needing this? Okay, body, spirit, and soul.
Mm.
You have your physical, you have your physiotherapist, you have your gynecologist, you have your medical doctors. So who's
Mm.
taking care of your mind? You leave your mind to the vacuum. You
Mm.
leave it to any spirit that is roaming around to dump something in there.
Mm.
You have to be deliberate to take care of your mind.
Yeah.
So go in to take care of your mind. If you call yourself a whole man is whole, body, spirit, and soul. If you are not whole in all three, then you are not whole.
Mm.
Okay, so being able to submit themselves, I tell them another analysis I use is you service your car.
Mm.
You can service your car, and you feel your car needs to be rewired periodically. Then why
Mm.
don't you think your mind also needs to be serviced?
Mm.
So it's purely just bring it from the logical angle. And
Yeah.
most men are logical; they can
Yes.
rationalize it, and they understood it at that point. I've had men come into session breaking down, talking about death of parents over 30 years ago that they never got to weep over. I've had men in session talking about marital problems that we are tracing
Mm.
to grief and traumas
Mm.
from childhood that is now playing out in their marriages as adults. So there are so many angles to it, but you can't force them. That's the truth. So when I hear, you need therapy. When a woman is telling a man you need therapy, he will not go for therapy.
No.
Okay, but when you tell him we need help, we
Mm.
need to take care of our mind, that means you and I,
Mm.
not you, then it could become more helpful.
Mm.
But
Thank you. I see a comment here that says we should not take our mental health as a joke. And we have a question here. Somebody experiencing an extreme anger switch, could that be a PTSD or another issue?
I mentioned earlier that that's one of the core traits of
Mm.
Africans that people as normalized as, oh, it's just being an angry person, but it's
Mm.
actually often time PTSD. So anger was one of the symptoms, especially extreme volatile angers.
Mm. Extreme.
One of the symptoms.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
So as we wrap up today's session, I want you to take home that seeking help is actually a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. So either a man or a woman, if you need help, get the help that you need, right? And you can always reach out to the Philip Support Foundation. We are here to help. All we talk about is the mental health, mental wellness of the Black community. So please reach out to us on our website www.thepsf.ca. We have psychologists that you can talk to. Dr. Timi is part of us. You can, if you want to book a session with her, you just need to reach out to us via our website, and we'll be able to help you. And if you know someone that needs help, please let them talk, or maybe you need help yourself, please talk to your doctor or your local mental health service, or contact a licensed therapist. And like I said, you can reach out to the PSF, the Phillips Support Foundation. And just a little bit of resources: if you're living in Canada or even the US, please call 911 if you're in danger, if you're in immediate danger, or you're experiencing thoughts of suicide. There's a Canada's suicide crisis line, and that's 988, and they are available 24/7. So if you have extreme thoughts, or maybe you've been, like our doctor said, you've been experiencing this for quite some time and you cannot shake it off, and you need to talk to someone, if you want immediate help, you can call 988, or you can call 911, and they'll be able to help. Remember, the PSF is here to support you. Anything mental health related, we are here to help. And we're using this TikTok account because, like I said at the beginning of this live session, that our account needs to grow. So please help us grow. Follow us on TikTok and across other social media platforms at support_PSF. I'll have the admin team post that now, at support_PSF. Please make sure you follow us, you like our content, and you also share with other people, so that we can grow and we can be able to reach more people, because a lot of people just need to know what we are on about, right? And so that they will know that help is available. Thank you so much. So, on behalf of the Phillips Support Foundation, we would like to sincerely thank our guest, Dr. Timi, for sharing our knowledge, our expertise with us today. Thank you so much. God bless you and reward you greatly in Jesus' name. And thank you so much to our participants, the ones that have joined and left, the ones that joined at the later part. This live session is being recorded and is going to be posted on our YouTube. So if you missed the beginning, or if you missed any parts, or maybe you want to share also, please, we're going to upload it as soon as possible on our YouTube channel, and you will be able to share, you'll be able to watch, as the case may be. So, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining this important conversation, and thank you for contributing. Thank you for your questions, for engagement, and thank you for your presence. We truly appreciate you. At the Phillips Support Foundation, we believe that stronger communities begin with care, with connection, and support for one another, including their emotional and mental well-being. And we hope that today's session encourages you to continue to check in with yourself and others. And I hope it also encourages you to seek support whenever it is needed, and also create safe space for conversations like this, conversations around mental wellness within our community. Thank you once again for joining, and until next time, please remember to follow us, support_PSF. Support_PSF. We are on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. We are everywhere. Just search the Phillips Support Foundation, and you'll be able to connect with us. We are here to help. So thank you, everyone. Until next time. Bye. Okay.